and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live. Hello, welcome back to the Claret Blue podcast. We're live on Facebook and live on YouTube this Monday afternoon. My name is Dan Rolinson and I'm joined by James Rushton, and today's going to be a bit of a casual chat. We've got no real plan for this episode like we usually would have. We've been sat here with my arms folded, feeling very relaxed about the whole situation. Just to take half an hour out of the day to stop refreshing social media, basically, because everyone's hooked on the Jack Grealish situation. We're all looking at photos and videos on Instagram of what's going on, and we all thought today would probably be the day that something happens with Jack being back in action. It turns out he was back with the squad yesterday rather than today, so everyone's thinking, well, he'll have a meeting with Wes today and he's flying in from America and all these rumours that come round. And so far at 3 o'clock on Monday, if you're not watching this live, nothing's happened. And we're all glued to social media, and it's driving me a little bit mental, just quick thinking, what's happening? What I need to check for stuff, I need to look for photos, I need to look for this. So I'm going to just take half an hour to slow down a little bit and just talk to you, James, talk to the comments. So if you want to interact with us, here's your opportunity to do so, and just see how we're feeling about it all. Are you the same, James? You losing your head a little bit, or are you pretty calm about it all?
Well, we'll probably come on to this later in part of our discussion, but obviously I didn't have Twitter last week for reasons, and I didn't know any of this because, like, if you don't have Twitter, and people were telling me stuff, and I was saying, you're straight up, like, when you said to me, you're lying, you are lying about this offer, and it's like, no, it's just the world we live in. Things happen so quick, and I'm refreshing this morning. I'm talking, you see people say, oh, Wes Eden's flying over to have like cornflakes with Grealish and get it sorted, but the level of nerve I feel and anxiety I feel has tailed off a lot. I think Friday, was it Thursday or Friday it came through?
Friday, I think. Yeah, it was the day of the away kit came out. I was at the park thinking, right, today is all about the away kit, get some nice photos. Everyone will be all about the away kit today. I'll do a few posts about that and do a bit of video, and then I come home and the world's ended, and I'm here typing out my post going, wow, what do you think of the away kit? And then thinking in my head, no one cares about this today because of the Grealish situation. And as we did that podcast the other day, I think that was Friday, you, me and Matt spoke about it. I was very down about the situation then. I thought, right, well, it almost all feels inevitable at this point. Here's the big bid. His head will be swayed by Man City, and probably by the time Monday comes round, he'll be up there holding the shirt in front of the Etihad. And so far that hasn't happened, and we've seen photos of him in the Villa kit and taking photos with kids and chatting to Ashley Young, and everyone's all smiles at a training camp down in London somewhere. And that wasn't part of the script that I envisaged when we last chatted about it. So we'll go into our thoughts on the Grealish situation later on in this episode. There's a few other things we want to talk about as well, though. And the first of those is Leon Bailey. Also came out that was all official, and again almost came out of nowhere. That 1 minute he's a transfer target, and the next it's going, oh yeah, by the way, we've agreed a deal with Bayer Leverkusen as long as he passes through personal terms, which sounds like there won't be any hiccups there. He's on board for next season as well, and that's a big move from Villa. Yeah,
I think what I would say about the Grealish and Bailey situations is, firstly, obviously I didn't have the Twitter for that, so having that come through as the notification from Villa, it made me realise something. And if you're refreshing your phone because you're anxious like us about looking for updates, and you need this and you need that, fair play to you, but I think things happen in their own time, not the time that you want it to. So when will Leon Bailey be announced, this and that? It's going to happen in its own time. We have no control, and thus the Grealish thing, we have obviously no control on that, don't we? What happens, and I think people were convinced something would happen today. It's 12 past 3 now, nothing has happened UK time, so we're going to be waiting and refreshing. All I can say is chill out, get on with your day. And if you've got your notifications on, like me, if you're a mad Aston Villa fan and you've got the Villa app, or you've got a news app and you've got notifications on, you're going to get told, you can't hide from it, so going to get it straight in and hear off it.
I've tried to start using social media now, obviously because it's part of our job to use social media and be active on social media and have a presence and all that kind of stuff. I've only tried to start using Twitter specifically because that's the one I use more so than anything else. I only try and use that when I'm on a work shift now. So rather than just endlessly scrolling on my phone all evening, refreshing stuff, waiting for news, Grealish or otherwise, good news, bad news. I've tried to wean that out of my lifestyle a little bit, and if I do find it helps, but that's all right for me to say, well, I've got 8 hours during the day where I am working. I have got an eye on things. If you haven't got that and you have a 5-minute break at work and want to quickly check what's going on and there's nothing to report, that probably is annoying. And there's a few comments coming through saying that it's almost like torture that we're having to wait for any kind of official news. And I keep saying, let's talk about Grealish at the back end of this podcast, but he's the main topic, isn't he, at this point? And people will want to know what's happening. And we're not here to sit here and bring news and say he's staying or he's going, because we know as much as everybody else. No one seems to know at this point. I don't even know whether Jack Grealish knows when he's taking pictures with young Villa fans. Is in his head, is he thinking, well, I'm off to Man City in a few days, so let's get all this out of the way and go? Or is he taking photos thinking, I love this club, there's Ashley Young, I was a kid when he signed, this is mental. So I don't know what's going on, and I thought it would all be sorted by this point, which is probably making it worse, because the longer it drags on, this is just going to dominate, isn't it?
Yeah, and the truth is, again, I don't even know if Jack Grealish knows what direction this is going to end in, and that's why it is torturous, because people know, look, there's a chance. And I think when the news broke that the bid came in, people was like, we were doing a podcast and we were all like, there's no chance almost, even though there is the chance. And that is, I think, having that like little window, that 10, 15, 20% chance.
That's the hope, isn't it? The hope.
It's horrible. Yeah, it's almost like, there's a thought where you just want it over with, and even if that's a negative situation, I think that's almost like a very British thing. Just get it. I'm sick of hearing it. I get it over and done with, because it is hurt. It does. When I speak about it, it does tick you off inside, and you're like, that is a real feeling. So trying to go through this news cycle every day, I genuinely don't know how some of you do it, because obviously we did it. Me and Dan did it, and we have to do it because of part of our jobs. But if it's not your job and it is, involved in your life 24/7, it is difficult to switch off. And the transfer thing is, when it comes to Grealish, it's a real thing, because I think we're all connected to him, obviously, because of him being a Villa fan. But hold back, hold fire, and when news comes, it's not going to happen when you want it to. It's going to happen whenever it happens, which is hopefully as soon as possible we get an answer, because I know it's only been 2 days, Dan, but it's been dragging on.
Yeah, well, to be fair, there's always been talk of him going on to leave forever. But once the official bid comes in, you start to think, oh Christ, here we go. Like, this is the start of the process, the start of the grieving process. A few of the comments said on our last podcast that I'd gone through every stage of grieving in our last chat about it. To a certain extent, it does feel a bit like that, because I'm kind of setting myself up for him to go. And then I thought that all the reports are, there's a medical booked in, ready to go, and the bid coming in, and he wants to leave, and he'll be up to Manchester like a shot. I didn't expect we'd see him in training gear, back in at Bodymore. Like, they were down in a training camp in London. If they wanted to hide away, he could stay up in Bodymore and get him fit up there. He could have a personal trainer and get fit in private. Like, the fact that he's even back with Villa makes me think there's a slight hope that he stays, but even that doesn't really mean anything. And he could be here for a couple of days and then goes to Man City at the start of next week, and this whole thing drags on for another week. But I've got my phone on loud, so it might buzz halfway through this episode. I'll keep glancing over just in case. And I said to you, we'll do a quick podcast at some point today, when we'll leave it late just in case something happens with it. And I'm still refreshing social media now just in case something happens whilst we're on air. So yeah, it's all just a bit of a mess, really. And like you said, I just want to rip the past off and be done either way. Yeah, go on. There's 500 people watching, by the way, which is incredible.
In the comments, then, is he going to stay? Yes or no? Because we need to quickly say and get your thoughts on it, because I think a lot of people will know. And now it's more, I feel like it's almost 50-50 yes, no. So if you're watching, drop a quick yes or no, and we'll see it fly in. There we go. Yes.
First of all.
Yeah,
so
easy.
This is the painful part, isn't it?
Yes,
if we'd done this on Friday, everyone would be saying no.
It is staying it. Look at all this.
Yeah, there's a lot of people saying yes now.
You got Andy Max says no. One of two. There's 3 no's. Yeah, fair play.
None of this helps, does it?
No, it hasn't helped at all, because we're all saying and when we log off, Sozzle always is in a Man City shirt. That's exactly how these things go. But look, I think a lot of people really confident, and I think I saw on Twitter, I don't want to forget his name, but I think there was a bloke, Ben Cash, and he went down, got his away shirt, went, they're still printing Grealish on, I'm getting it regardless. And I'll tell you a little story, mate. When we first got relegated and Stan Petrov was training with us, I was going, I'm going to get Petrov on my shirt. They didn't let me. So
and that means he's staying. Thanks for that. I've also put the Grealish up in the background as well, so that means he's staying. So I'm confident enough to have that in the background. No, I don't know. We'll talk again. I don't want this to be dominated by Grealish because all the news is, and I know there's other stuff going on, and there's things in the Grealish story that we're yet to touch on as well. But we'll move away from it a little bit. We've done 10 minutes and we've not mentioned anything else. We'll come back to Jack in a bit. Leon Bailey, talk to me about him because you did an AVFC extra episode last week, and he was a transfer target and a number one on Villa's list to get. Fast forward a couple of days, and Grealish is linked with a move away, and it's like, oh, by the way, we're signing this guy from Bayer Leverkusen. It's like, well, that happened pretty quick. There was talk about a medical in America. I've not listened to your episode yet, so I want you to kind of recap what Josh, our scouting expert, told us about, and just what your thoughts are on Bailey for us as well.
Well, first things first, I think if the worst thing to happen this season is Jack Grealish leaving for a British record transfer fee, I know it's annoying because it's Man City and us signing Leon Bailey. I remember when we signed Grant Holt, a few years ago. I remember the financial trouble. I remember Tony Jaa. I remember all that. So, I remember the David O'Leary days and Graham Taylor's second comeback. It pales in, it hurts, but it pales in comparison because it means Villa have an opportunity. That opportunity is hopefully Leon Bailey coming in. Agreement. I think it's not signed, sealed, and done, but it's as close. It's as good as. It's as good as. When we reported it was a transfer target, Josh said, when you lose a player like Grealish, you lose a lot. But what you need to do is replace him in different parts, whether that's, your Damsgaard, who's been linked today, Buendia, who signed, Ashley Young, who signed, and Leon Bailey, who's coming through the door. That's how you do it. And, these are also supplementary pieces around the puzzle that is Jack Grealish. They don't always play in the same position. You can have a really fluid, flexible front. So what Josh said was, how positive of a sign it is for Villa, regardless of what happens with Grealish. It is a statement to sign a player like Leon Bailey. Again, I remember on the last podcast, Matt said about it's Tony Jaa talk to win the title in 3 years or whatever, which is Grealish's aims. To me, it's almost Tony Jaa talk to be talking about signing someone like Leon Bailey, who, with all due respect to Grealish, when Villa were in the Championship, he was playing in the Bundesliga and doing fairly well for himself and making a name for himself. So, that extra sold me on the idea of Leon Bailey. And if you haven't seen him play, check out the episode because Josh has got it nailed on what type of player he is. And, it's almost like he said to me after, I don't want to be too positive because it can go wrong, almost like the Morgan Sanson. We sign him, he's brilliant. He just doesn't find a pathway.
Ross Barkley as well.
Yeah, Ross Barkley. And I mean, fair enough, he did all right, but it wasn't what we thought it would be. It was just a different thing, and it didn't really, you can't really go, oh yeah, I'll spend 30 million on him. But when he said afterwards, he's like, I can't see Leon Bailey going wrong for Villa for a multitude of reasons. And yeah, it can because it's football. But regardless of what happens with Grealish, bringing someone like Leon Bailey through the door is exceptional for a club like Aston Villa. Yeah, considering where we are, Dan.
There's a couple of comments. There's a comment I want to bring up. There's loads coming through. It's almost hard to see ones that I want to bring in. But there's one that's come out here that it's kind of linked to a thing I said in the last episode that I got slated for, which will come onto social media later on in this episode. Anthony Harp says Bailey, Buendia, and Cantwell versus Grealish, Traoré, and Barkley, which is the better attacking mid. And I said there's a scenario in the world where Villa without Jack Grealish are technically better because they build a squad that's more of a unit than it is just reliant on Jack Grealish. And obviously, Bailey, Buendia, Grealish is the ideal scenario there. That's the best three out of those six players there. But if it's Grealish and a better and a weaker side versus a more well-rounded unit, I said I didn't want to write off the season if we do lose Jack. It's a 38-game season. Lots of things can happen. If we somehow get top six without Jack Grealish because we recruited very well and Bailey and Buendia score 15 goals each, we won't be sitting there going, oh, Jack Grealish who, and writing him off saying he's a poor player. Because obviously we all know how good he is, but Villa can still be a success without him if they do the right thing. We've seen Leicester and Liverpool do it, as you mentioned in our last podcast. So we've also seen Spurs waste the Gareth Bale money. So if you do things right, there's no reason to be all doom and gloom and just say, oh, we're going to get relegated then. How would you line up with and without Grealish? I mean, without Grealish requires us to bring in another couple of signings and bolster the squad. And to be fair, even with Grealish, we do need one more maybe. So what would your kind of be ideal lineup if you were going to pick your team now? Because the first game of the season's 10 days away or something, 12 days.
With Grealish, I think he's going to come back into the middle, isn't he? Surely for Villa. I mean, if you buy Bailey or Buendia, or with Buendia maybe going central, I think that's an option that it gives you. Is you have such flexibility, and if Grealish is having trouble on the left wing against West Ham, you have options to move stuff around if it's not going. Without Grealish, it's harder because you don't know what Aston Villa will do immediately to replace Grealish, whether it's a Todd Cantwell and Michael Damsgaard. You don't know what exactly they'll do. But if Grealish stays, left, centre, whatever, as long as Bailey and Buendia there, whatever that manner they line in, I can't see that not being a truly atrocious dream for any nightmare for any Premier League defence, because on Grealish's day, Premier League defences don't really know what's going on. If Buendia is even half of that, that's a major problem. And Leon Bailey blistering pace, it's something that Villa haven't really truly had on the flank for a while. Even then, not to do them down, but Al Ghazi and Bertrand Traore have done nothing but improved in a Villa shirt. And if those are the players you're now bringing off the bench, the players who were changing games starting them at the end of last season, these are the players you're bringing off the bench to freshen things up. That's really positive. Again, without Grealish, it's uncharted territory from a number of reasons. So I'm not going to stick my neck out on the line, but lining up, it puts itself in there, mate. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think if Grealish is in there, you got Grealish on the left, Buendia at 10, and Bailey on the right behind Watkins, and that is a scary front four. The back five picks itself, and then it's up to the middle two, either McGinn and Luiz, to step up and be better than they were last year, or Villa go out and buy big and replace one of the two. And Ward-Prowse and Luiz, Grealish, Bailey, Cantwell, there's loads of names still linked, and I think whether Jack's here or not, Villa can still be successful. So I'm less kind of doom and gloom about the whole situation than I was a few days ago. Obviously, it could still go and I'll be heartbroken about the whole thing, but like I said many times, I'm not just going to write off the season. If we lose the first 10 games, then fair enough, I'll start to panic. But
I mean, if you
squint, can still do stuff.
If you squint, Todd Cantwell is essentially Jack Grealish.
Yeah,
so you just have to really just kind of it's almost like you see him at the side. No, it isn't. But if it's a situation where Villa are lining up and they've got Cantwell, for example, Buendia and Bailey, and no Grealish, very upsetting that you don't have Grealish. But there's a chance that isn't horrible. That isn't.
That three is stronger on paper, potentially stronger than Grealish, El Ghazi, Traore. Is it not?
If you want to back the Villa and what they're doing, yes, it is, because it has to be. And the answer has to be yes, it is. We saw what it was last season, and even in some games when that free played, they couldn't break it down because there wasn't enough strength alongside Jack Grealish. If they can step up to some level, Villa, Bertrand Traore and Al Ghazi gave their best, but then when people are planning for Villa, they have the flanks and the middle to worry about rather than just going pin Jack Grealish and hope Bertrand Traore doesn't do anything, which was essentially what it was last season.
Talk to me a little bit about Cantwell and Ward-Prowse. Then there was a bid of Ward-Prowse for 25 million, which I saw a lot of people being like, go to Southampton, bully him, just say that we're paying this and leave. And it's like, well, if someone did that to us with Grealish, we'd be going, what a derisory offer. So if Villa want players, they have to go out and spend the money. James Ward-Prowse, whether he's worth more than 25 is down to personal opinion, but Southampton will say, we want 50, and they won't let him go for less than that. So you know what I mean? You've got to do what they say. If they want 50 odd for James Ward-Prowse and Norwich want 40 odd for Cantwell, is that too much money to spend on players? Or do you just have to bite the bullet and say, look, we've lost Jack, so we have to go out and pay whatever now?
Yeah, you bite the bullet. I mean, if you lost Jack Grealish, and there's a fantasy where you lose him and then you get, your Ward-Prowse, your Bailey and your Cantwell. I mean, those players individually don't, I think a comment just through Todd Cantwell hasn't got a patch on Grealish. They don't. That's the point. Grealish is completely unique. He's a world-class elite player, and we aren't going to replace him with one player. We have to replace him with many. We have to replace him with a Leon Bailey in a bit. We have to replace him with your Buendia, with your Cantwell, and with your Ward-Prowse. We have to get those. We need those. We need a set piece taker. We need someone who can create the chances from deep. Douglas Luiz, every chance he could improve as well next season, but look at the amount of football he's played consecutively. I've got complete faith he can run straight in from the Olympics and do a job for Villa, but history says that's not always the case. So if you can get someone who creates chances from deep, whether that can be Sanson improving or Ward-Prowse, fair play, because there'd been nothing more I love than Ward-Prowse emulating Beckham in a Villa shirt and knocking in some free kicks, because we haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah, there's a couple of comments asking whether this is a Wolves-related podcast. I don't know whether we've said something that's anti-Villa or whether there's Wolves fans in the comments of this. So if those are saying it's a Wolves podcast want to clarify what they mean, that'd be great. Michelle says...
no one's speaking Portuguese here either, which is a tell. So.
I'm not saying we've been anti-Villa, saying that he might leave, because it's a very realistic possibility. Someone's just asked about the betting odds. Can you explain a little bit how the betting odds change so quickly? Because people read a lot into that, favourite to stay or favourite to go to Man City now, and odds seems to change so often. You're not a gambling man, I know that. So can you explain why these things happen?
So obviously, when the fun stops, we have to say that whenever you're saying anything gambling. But I think what sums up the odds dropping for me is when Di Matteo was made a Villa manager, because absolute no chance he's Villa manager, then the odds drop all of a sudden and he's made Villa manager. So usually it's insider information and then just piggybacking on links and news. But the Di Matteo one stood out because it looked like a lot of people had placed a lot of money on him all of a sudden, so stuff dropped on. So it's just going back and forth on whether punters think he's going to City, whether he's going to Villa, because last week it was almost like a sure thing he's going to City. Now probably people not so much. So honestly, with odds, there's always that thing, because I always go back to the Di Matteo thing, and people was like, why are the odds dropping? And he turns out to be Villa manager because people placed enormous sums of money on him all of a sudden to be Villa manager. So sometimes there can be truth, but in this, because it's going so back and forth, it's just the wavering opinions and information that's floating around.
It's funny because I write off all the betting stuff because it doesn't matter, but the example you've just given says that the betting odds do matter.
No, it's only been that situation.
The betting odds dropped on Di Matteo, and he was like, they won. They won those bets.
They also dropped really heavily on Thierry Henry and Brendan Rodgers to be they were solidly truth, because they went through Villa went through their order of number one, number two choices, and then Thierry Henry and John Terry stuff. So this stuff it kind of comes to the fore, and it's like a definite thing, and it just goes flies off, and then Dean Smith's here. He's the man. So these situations always change, but sometimes it does happen.
Well, as it stands, he's favourite to stay. God, the operative word I got wrong there. At the moment, he's the favourite to stay at Villa, if that means anything to anybody.
There we go.
But if I had something from the Man City and I went and put 50 grand on him going to Man City, the odds would change again. So that's just how it goes. Where do we want to go to next? Where are little bits that we noted down? Tyrone Mings. Let's talk about Tyrone Mings. There's some news come out today about his Euro 2020 experience and how he had to seek therapy because he was written off by a nation, essentially, and how that affected his mental health going into a major tournament. What a horrible situation that must be, first of all, before we kind of not analyse what's come out today. But that's not nice, is it? No,
it really isn't. And you look at Tyrone Mings, and look, he has made mistakes on a pitch, but at the end of the day, he's Villa. He's now Villa through and through. He's an adopted son of Aston Villa, and he's played his heart out in a shirt. And he probably hasn't been the defender everyone really wants. Sometimes, but on average, Tyrone Mings has been the absolute man for Aston Villa. He's been the guy when everything goes wrong that you can usually count on. When he was going to England, we saw Villa fans, a few laid a boot into him quite unfairly, and when he was representing the country, and have full doubt in him, and I can imagine what it does to him. Obviously, not been there myself, but when you are in a poor state of mental health, it almost feels like there is no way out. And footballers, even if you are well paid, we've seen all sorts of issues with well paid actors, footballers, whomever you are, succumb to mental health issues. So obviously he's talking, he's admitted what's went on and how it affected him. And I think it just comes on us all, even ourselves and the people we work with, to just take a step back and see what the stuff we pull out, how does it affect people.
It's everyone will know, who's followed us for a while, knows how much admiration I've got for Tyrone Mings for things he's done, but for me personally, and just the life that he's led so far to get into where he is now. Whether you rate him as a footballer or not is frankly irrelevant in that aspect. It's just not a nice situation, is it? And we've seen it with Villa players in the past, with El Ghazi last year having to delete social media because he's getting abused by his own fans, which is outrageous.
the feeling that happens is almost a feeling of panic. And if you I can speak from my experience, if you're in an extreme state of panic, it's like a heart attack. Like when I've had, when it's been really bad for me, it's almost been like, should I call an ambulance? Am I going to die? It's like you're not in, it's a horrible situation. I mean, it's, I've spoke to people about it. It's not an uncommon situation where you think, that was a mental health thing. And look how it affected me physically. And, you're talking about footballers, you have to spend so much time doing physical, performing at the highest physical level. They need to be on top of things mentally, and that can be that's tough. That is a physical demand in itself, just to be on top of things. And look, I think what Tyrone Mings has done is he's normalized therapy when you're feeling bad, but also normalized it when you're feeling good. Speaking and being honest about how you're feeling is the way forward. I can swear to that myself. Might talk about it on a podcast down the line, Dan, but like, when the people, your community are on your back, it hurts. And if we've experienced that a tiny bit because I've been on YouTube and been on Twitter, look at what our guys did, Lansbury, and had to go through before, and Tyrone Mings. And some people think they deserve it because they're not playing, and they're not playing very good. But tagging footballers in atrocious abuse has effects, and these guys are villains, no matter if they're performing or not. They're Aston Villa, Aston Villa than us. They're representing the club.
And that stands on whether you like the player or you don't. It doesn't matter whether you think, oh, well, and the one that we didn't really read too much in a couple of years ago that was probably a similar story was Ross McCormack. And it was almost funny to throw abuse his way because he wasn't playing and he was overpaid and nowhere near good enough, blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't make it right just because you don't rate the player and then you defend Tyrone Mings because you do like him. It's just wrong on every level to send abuse to people. Someone just said something like, imagine a confident Tyrone Mings heading into the Euros, how much more of a better player he'd been. For what it's worth, I thought he was good in the Euros and the games he played. And as much as I think he said something like 90% of the nation think you're the weak link of the team or something like that. You think, well, most Villa fans still cover for him, but there'll be Villa fans out there that will say, oh, he's not good enough for England, he's not good enough for Villa. And you've got people on your back who are supposed to be representing and backing your corner. It's just not a nice place to be. And when they're representing you for your team that you support and the nation you support, bigging them up and thinking they're the greatest makes them play better. So if you're going out there going, oh, he's not good enough, and that affects them, they will make a mistake and they won't be as good because of the abuse that they've been given in the first place. So I don't know whether we go down this road fully, but stop abusing people. It's the message of it. And the 99% of people watching this won't be abusive towards anybody, let alone footballers. But people do just seem to think they're, on another level, another planet. Tagging them in a tweet isn't going to matter, but they do see stuff. And this isn't just Tyrone Mings, this is footballers everywhere. They do see things, and it's just not on, is it?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's a tiny minority, and I get that's a positive thing. It's just
true.
If two people say the thing that gets you got, it almost doesn't matter. I remember saying something about, it was like a minority of fans did something at Villa that wasn't great, and you say, oh, it's only a minority of fans, but that gets people. So it's just about, we're all in this together for real, because we all go to the Villa games, we all support the people in the shirt, and sometimes they don't perform to the standards we expect, but that it's on us to push them and lift them rather than get them down. Because the way football works now is you can have an average game, someone will cut a 30-second compilation of you falling over or letting the ball go through your legs or scoring an own goal, and that's your career, not the 89 minutes of solid performance you've put in. It's the comedy error that people can't let go of and that will abuse you over. So unfortunate, but Tyrone Mings is a character and he spoke about it, and it's just on us to learn and move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. On another level, but a personal experience I had very recently is I did a joke tweet the other day about a DM to Margot Robbie and said like, oh well, I think it said there was an original Sky Sports tweet that said Man City interested in Grealish, and I tweeted, Dan Rolinson interested in Margot Robbie or whatever it was, as a joke. It got a few thousand likes. Most people understood it was a joke. And then when the bid comes in from Man City, I've got 12-year-old Man City children in my DMs throwing abuse my way and laughing at that and jokes about appearance and stuff like that. And it's just like, I can just delete that and it's gone, which I did do. So I thought, well, this isn't worth the hassle. And that's like 5, 6, 7 people. It's a nothing thing. It's nothing for me. It's not about me personally. It's not racist abuse for one that we haven't gone into there with Tara Mings. Jason, no, she didn't reply. I don't know why she didn't reply. It's outrageous.
Sorry, I know serious point, but I think that one needed to.
Outrageous. I replied again after I said Ed. I just don't understand. But I just thought it's not worth hassling on. I can delete it, and that it didn't annoy me. It didn't ruin my day. I haven't had to seek therapy about it. But that's 5 or 6 people. I haven't got thousands of notifications coming through to my phone after a game, and to my iPad and to my Mac, or wherever I look after a game when I've missed a penalty or made a silly mistake. So I can't even imagine that what the footballers have to go through when they do something, and when we've seen the racist abuse that Rashford got and Saka and those guys after the Euros. The fact that they said like they knew straight away when they missed the penalty they were going to get that shows that I don't know how we're living in this world still in 2021. Yeah, I didn't think we'd go into that much, but social media as a whole is just, it's a cesspit, isn't it? Like Toby there's just said, and Villa specifically at the moment, because it's so kind of tense and edgy with the Grealish situation. It doesn't take much for someone just to flip and say something they probably will regret later on. So if we can all just calm down a bit, that'd be useful.
I think we've all done it. I think my thing is, I love to bite back sometimes because that's just how I've always been, and get you in regrettable situations. And you think sometimes people think they're joking with you, and you're joking with them, and things can get lost because Twitter is just, social media is no place to have a conversation, a serious conversation about anything, or even sometimes joke, because you don't know how the other person will take it, basically. And I think what we're trying to say here is, think twice before. It goes for me. I've read absolutely regrettable stuff about Ross McCormack, Aaron Tish-Bowler, stuff that I think about a lot. And I mean, they've probably never seen it because I'm nobody, but you feel like the accumulation of all of that gets to these players, and it can probably ruin a career in some cases. And as we've seen, I think there was a Villa player, Mikey Drennan, who had to take a step back a few times because of mental health. So it's a real thing, and it's a good thing. Your mental health can be good and it can also be bad. It just doesn't, it's not just something that occasionally comes up. It's always there for good or for worse. So take care of it. If that includes cultivating your social media experience, sort it out, block, mute. Don't have the conversations on there that you're uncomfortable about, because people can take them the wrong way. And don't abuse anyone on there because you don't know what they're going through. 100%.
My favourite response to, I say abuse, I don't even know if abuse is the right word, but kind of, I suppose sometimes on their part they think it's banter. I think it's light-hearted to say, oh, this person doesn't know what they're on about, this person's opinion is this, that and the other, and they don't really think it makes too much of a difference. But every so often banter turns into abuse or crosses the line, is a bit much, what's the word, like a bit more than banter. I don't know where I was going there. A little brain fart there live on the podcast. My favourite response is 2 things. I like to just screenshot it and put it on Twitter and be like, well, another one, another fan, another one for the collection book and stuff like that. And a few people reply and have a joke, and I'll get a few DMs saying, look, it's easy for people to leave a negative review rather than a positive one. 100 people will watch it and 99 will like it, but they don't all send you a message and go, yep, thumbs up, that was good. But the one person that goes, you're an idiot or whatever, that's the one that you see, and that's the one that you resonate with, because you don't see the 99 people that enjoyed it. So the second option to that is on YouTube specifically, and this is a nice little behind the curtain thing for people watching that maybe are still sending abusive comments, is that you can hide a user on YouTube and they don't know. So they can keep writing comments and keep being abusive and saying nasty things to people or the Villa fans in the comments or us on the podcast or a guest we have on or whoever, and keep saying things, and we don't even see it. It doesn't even go into like the filtered section anymore. It just hides their username from the channel permanently. So they think they're still commenting, but no one gets to see it. That's my favourite feature, because they think that they keep spouting their nonsense into the world, and it's literally just thrown into a bin immediately.
Yeah, there was a comment that I think we'll sign off on this because something interesting actually has just happened on Twitter.
Go on then.
Regarding a West Brom player, but it was a comment that said, you're ballooning this issue way bigger than it should be, and I don't think it is, because, no matter who you are, no matter what's said, and I know about people always say sticks and stones, words may never hurt me, whatever. But when you say something that's taken the wrong way, it can sometimes end in really, really kind of creepy, scary consequences. A friend of the podcast has been involved in a few issues way back. Won't mention anything there because it's a personal situation, but it doesn't matter. if it's children, if it's anonymous accounts. When I said something about Wesley last week, and someone asked me, there was another thing which I didn't take seriously, but someone was asking, where do you and your dad sit at Villa then? And I was thinking, that's a bit weird, and it doesn't matter if it's a kid. It's a scary situation. You can only imagine what people like Tyrone Mings are receiving, because if that's the little layer, and these people are sticking up and saying things, they're bringing politics into the game. What are they getting that's really hurting them? And it must be something, absolutely vile, just to sign off on that.
Yeah, before we sign off, I didn't expect us to go this far on this. I know we're about to talk about Matheus Pereira in a second in the statement he's just posted, if it's true of what I've just seen. Where is it about children? If it is children, why do we just write it off for saying, oh, it's only children? Like, we as adults should grow up. They're the next generation that are being brought up to raise their own children and set these standards for the next generation to follow. So let's wipe out children being idiots now and stop it once and for all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We shouldn't just write off abuse and go, oh, it's kids. That kids say silly things. Kids should be taught to not do silly things and be better than that by their parents who set the example in the first place. But let's move on to Matheus Pereira. He's put a statement out today. I'm going to read some of it.
Do you want to read the whole thing out? It's amazing.
It's quite big, so I will read the whole thing. I'll try and put it on screen at some point. Can I do that quickly? We are live at the moment, as people may or may not know if you're watching this later on. Share tab. Bear with me, everybody, because it is long. I can't do it. I'll just have to read it out. Sorry. He says, God. He says, I remained silent and was not going to address anything until after the transfer window out of respect for the fans and all my teammates. However, after being called not committed with the club, I felt extremely disrespected as a professional. I've been living off football since I was 12 years old. I chose to give up family time and just ordinary fun to chase after a dream of a better future for myself and those around me. Christ, needs a bit more punctuation, but I'll let him off. No one has ever seen anything in which I've badmouthed the club or anyone associated with the club, or even that I wanted to leave the club by any means. That is because I have character and I respect the club as it opened its doors to me when I needed and believed in me. Dedication has never lacked, and I've always been committed in the last 2 seasons. We fought our way back to the Premier League. Oh, blah, blah, blah. This is boring. I don't want to leave the club through the back door. That was never my plan or intention. Quite the contrary. I want the club to be adequately rewarded for believing in me and supporting me for 2 seasons. 3 weeks ago, I received an offer that would change my life and my family's life forever. Interesting. I come from humble beginnings, blah, blah, blah. I want to leave. I want to seek new experiences, but want to do this in a fair and correct manner. I will forever be grateful to West Bromwich Albion, to its fans and every single professional that works at the club and that welcome me with open arms. To those that cheered me for the last 2 seasons, you're part of my history. I'm a professional and will always respect that. Matheus Pereira. Christ, that's a lengthy statement for a player that's still at a club and not moved anywhere yet.
I know you've this is a really bad paraphrase of it, so I'm not projecting here or anything, but it's essentially, don't dare tell me I'm not committed, but yeah, I am off.
yeah, you all said I wasn't committed, but also I do want to leave, by the way, so there is that. Yeah. That's a big statement, isn't it? There's a line in there that says I received an offer a few weeks ago. I wonder whether that was Aston Villa, because he was linked at one point. He's a right-sided player, isn't he?
I think the offer. I don't know how true it was, but I think I saw that it was like almost like an overseas offer on mad money.
Like China or something.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Villa wouldn't be offering mad money. I don't even think Buendia's on the quote unquote footballer life-changing money. He still fits in Villa's wage structure, which I think, if that rumor was true, would have been broken to bring Pereira in. But yeah, that's an interesting one, because I think he feels a need for Villa. If Grealish goes, he feels a need for Villa. So it's an interesting situation.
Okay, Jesus, I joined at the start of that speech and thought it was Grealish. Phew. Yeah, sorry about that. That was Matheus Pereira, not Jack Grealish. Christ, imagine having to read that out and it's from Grealish. So I just had a quick glance of who scored. He plays either centre or right midfield, like attacking midfield or right side. So he pretty much can play anywhere in front of that 3, like Buendia, like Bailey. Now, would you have him as a replacement, not a replacement for Grealish straight for straight, but having him as a Pereira, Buendia, Bailey as a trio and kind of floating around as a 3? Or does he come in as not backup, but you've got Bailey and him that both play on the right side, Grealish on the left, Buendia and or Bailey and or Pereira on the right side? It almost feels like if we keep Grealish, I'd say that we don't need him. If you've got Traore and El Ghazi as backup now, and Trezeguet when he eventually comes back next year, if Grealish goes, you definitely need another wide player anyway. So I think he'd be a target then. And he is a good player. He was good for Albion last year in a pretty poor side, really. You know what he feels like to me? He feels like a West Ham signing. I don't know why. It just feels like one of those, like everyone had their eye on, like with Ben Rama. And everyone, go here, and then he ends up West Ham. Feels like a West Ham signing. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, I think the situation that you're kind of emulating there is Felipe Anderson, who moved. I think he moved from Lazio for 40 million, then got sold back for 2 million a few seasons later. So, no, he is an exciting player, and I feel like almost the need for him immediately has been surpassed by getting Buendia in, and getting Bailey in. But if your Grealish leaves, I can't see that being an awful kind of.
I think if Grealish leaves and it's Cantwell for 40 or Pereira for 25, it's Pereira. And to be fair, even if they're the same price, I'd be tempted by Pereira over Cantwell anyway, to be honest. But if Grealish is in there, there's a couple of people that agree with me there. I don't think there's a starting role for him straight away. He's a great squad player to have him, but if he's costing upwards of 25 million, I don't know whether Villa do that for a squad player when they've got Traoré and El Ghazi as backup now as well.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like it's quite interesting how Villa have bought these players, Bailey and Buendia, and have been linked to players who, they can play centrally if you want them to, but either flank can do. And I feel like that is because they want pathways for Aaron Ramsey, Jacob Ramsey, and Carney Chukwuemeka. So I feel like, they're really impressed with those talents and would want to offer them a pathway. So I wouldn't see... I wouldn't, if we were to sell Grealish, I wouldn't see him getting replaced by two players, Cantwell and Pereira. I'd say it would probably be one, because they are really, really interested in getting some more experience for those three lads.
Apparently West Ham did bid or have bid 22 million for him, someone in the comments said.
Absolutely bang on, isn't it?
He was interested, Ben Rama, Bowie and Pereira. I think West Ham just checked the papers for whoever Villa were linked with and put a bid in first. It just feels like a West Ham sign. I don't know what it is about it. It just I can see it. It makes sense. A couple of questions that have come through there off the back of that, I suppose. What happens with El Ghazi next? If we do sign someone who's another wide player and Grealish stays, is that about? If Grealish stays and we sign a wide player, I think it's game over for El Ghazi. I don't see a route back into the side for him then. And if we can get 12 to 15 million or whatever the touted figure was for, to be fair, a player that scored 10 goals last year, probably worth a little bit more than that. But you would take an offer of that cost if you've bought a wide player in as well. If Grealish does go and you only sign one wide player, I think El Ghazi sticks around and we'll have a part to play, I think.
Yeah, and look, you got Philogene Bidays coming through on the wing, and you can't just go, there's a pathway for all these players. You have to look at loans as well, seeing how they develop with senior first team minutes. But with El Ghazi, it's an interesting one, because I feel like if you gave him the challenge, there'd be a good chance he'd rise to it. If you were to give him the challenge of, like, you're going to be a reserve player again for the second season in a row, but it's on you to break into the team, I think he would rise to it, because he's a player who come through at your Ajax, and he played a really good game against, I think, in the Champions League against Barcelona. He made a name for himself off the radar. With Bielsa in France, nothing happens, and then suddenly he's at Villa in the Championship, and he has kind of risen through the ranks with Villa. But look, if he is to stay, absolute faith that he suddenly breaks through again, and he's a force there'd be no better situation, and he gets to the level of a Leon Bailey, and he's fighting against him for a Buendia and fighting against him. The evidence is there to suggest he might even do that, but getting money for him, considering the state of him at the start of last season, would be fantastic as well. It's used the word a lot, win-win. El Ghazi probably gone. If he goes, it won't be very, very cheap. Or I think Villa will get a fair bit of cash for him.
So we've got a bit of admin to do at the end of this podcast, but a few little updates for the future of the podcast and stuff like that, which we'll get onto in a minute. Let's just wrap up. I said this was going to be relaxed, and let's not talk about Grealish too much. Then we spent the first 15 minutes talking about it, and we'll probably spend the next 15 minutes talking about it as well. But there's a few things that have happened today that we've not touched on or since the weekend. So kind of preface all this with about, let's not read too much into this and blah, 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 but we are going to start reading too much into things that probably are irrelevant at this point. But I just want to get your opinion. And again, it's just a bit of a kind of, we've called this a therapy session, I think, in the title. I don't know whether it is that, but just speak some thoughts, because it's easy to just send a few tweets that go out and disappear. But let's try and reflect a little bit. He's back in training on Sunday. There's all these pictures going around of like people that are staying in this hotel that are sharing them. First of all, people think it's a Photoshop. which I'm looking at it, knowing what Photoshops look like, and going, it's definitely a real photo. There's people then saying Jack Grealish looks like Matty Cash, and I'm thinking, Christ, get your eyes tested. It looks nothing like Matty Cash. And then there's a couple of other photos come out, and then there's a video, and it's how do you Photoshop a video then? Obviously, it's real. So he's there. He was there yesterday. He's been there today. They're down near Twickenham. I think I've seen people saying at some hotel resort thing. And it seems, I don't know whether they're all there, but Martinez was there, Buendia's been there, Mings, Grealish, Cash, Ashley Young I've seen, McGinn. I think they're all down there, or most of them anyway. People have asked why are they there. I think it's just a little pre-season camp. Like you'd usually go to Portugal or wherever, wouldn't you, for a week, but I think they're doing 4 or 5 days or something like that I've seen somewhere. So that's why they're all there. And when we did that last podcast on Friday and he was having the bid for Man City, in my head I'm thinking, well, he's probably going to be swayed by Man City. If this is a release clause, Villa have to accept. And then all of a sudden he's there in a Villa kit, and I'm thinking, I didn't expect to see that. Do you read anything into the fact that he's even back with Villa?
I'm going to say something really annoying.
Sorry.
No. But when Jack Grealish was definitely out the door because Villa were in financial troubles and Tottenham had agreed a deal eventually after trying to rip Villa off for ages, he attended a pre-season tour. I think he even maybe played a match, but he was on a pre-season.
He played against Warsaw, didn't he?
Yeah, he was involved in training, and that's what you can read into that is that he's a committed professional footballer, and he won't mess around, and he'll do the job he's asked to do until the time comes when he's no longer asked to do it. I think you can be positive about it because look, you have a situation where Harry Kane, for whatever reason, didn't turn up to training. He's just as committed. If as Jack Grealish, these two players wouldn't be where they are without the commitment. You can read it. Can you read into him staying at Villa? I don't know, but it is a fairly positive sign. But look, he could still do this and then move to Man City. Yeah, Harry Kane could still avoid Tottenham training to make a point and still stay there. I know it's so annoying, but it is so up in the air. And what I take from that is, look, that's Jack Grealish for you. He's still a Villa player, he's still attending training like he's preparing for the new season because that's what he has to do. He can't let this disrupt him and disrupt Aston Villa because it is something that, if he goes, it blows the door off for a few moments. It blows the doors off Aston Villa until they get it sorted.
But then he's away on holiday in Croatia, kicking a ball around on his own as well. If he was about to move to Man City, could he not be training on his own somewhere? He's got enough money to hire a personal trainer and do his own stuff, off the record, out of the way, out of the limelight. Could even be back at Bodymore Heath, hiding away from the rest of the squad and just be like, well, he's but then that does confirm that he's about to leave if Villa then say, well, Jack Grealish isn't there. So this is the thing, maybe you can read something into it. I don't know yet. Well, another point, again, this is all kind of just rolling into one. Social media. He's there taking photos with fans, which, he might just be polite. And there's fans there. Yeah. I've tweeted about this earlier. Again, I got a bit of stick saying, like, don't sign for City and City will ruin you and all this. So he will win trophies at City. Like, he'll be perfectly fine at Man City if he goes there. Just, like, give the guy a break. He's not going to go, oh, yeah, right, mate. Yeah, right, I'll stay. Then, like, whether he's going or staying, he's never going to tell anybody. They're told not to speak about stuff like that. So that could just be politeness. But again, it's just... It raises these questions of why even bother then, because now people are going to be questioning it. The follow-up to that is Villa social media posts, like sharing videos of him in training and stuff like that. It's an easy PR thing to just go, let's just not show Jack Grealish is here.
Yeah, it's nobody wins.
A 10-second video of like the players like doing a very light warm-up. Like, we don't even need to see that video, but the fact Jack's there, we all go, oh my God, he's there, so it must be staying. So it's like, you either just avoid that totally, or we do start to read too much into this and go, well, he was there Sunday, he was training this morning, the next thing he's going to do is sign a contract.
Yeah, I think what happens is that the deals will be put in front of his representatives, passed on to him, and then it's up to him just to make a decision. So I feel like that wouldn't affect, his day-to-day too much. I think if it was me and you in these shoes, we'd be doing the exact same thing. I feel we'd be training. If fans wanted a photo, wouldn't go, no, I'm too big for you now, I'm going to City. It would still be like it. And it is hard. I know it's difficult. Someone said you're tortured again. So we won't go too much down because of torture.
We're just going to go around in circles, aren't we, otherwise? Yeah,
it's hard. It is a difficult one because we want to read into stuff so much. And it swings back, like we've already said it at the start of the podcast, it swings back and forth so much, it bounces you about a bit.
What we know for sure is he's not about to have a medical at Man City because he's here with Villa.
Yeah,
at the moment, he's not in Manchester. He's not doing his media at Manchester behind the scenes. If it was all quiet, the other point that we were going to read too much into is the Harry Kane situation. Is that a knock-on effect that now he thinks he might be going to Man City, and Man City won't buy both, and they'll just go all in for Kane because they know that Jack's staying at Villa?
I could possibly be.
That's the other like narrative theory this morning, that Kane doesn't show up at Spurs because he knows he's going to Man City. Jack's back at Villa because he knows he's staying at Villa, and that's where the two goes.
Yeah, I think if you're Jack Grealish, you want to leave. If you leave, you want to leave the right way, which is you let Villa give you, pitch to you and give you, lay all their cards on the table, which takes time. It's not going to happen in a minute, and it looks like that's what Villa are doing right now. Harry Kane, again, what can you read into it? He could still be there come the end of deadline day. He might have just dropped his phone on his toe and go, "Oh, can't come in today." Something stupid like that. Something stupid like that. Again, it's the most painful thing is you'll have to wait to see and then assess these little hints after and go, did it actually mean anything, or was it just how it was? Because I think we're all projecting what we'll do, what we would personally do. So,
what's your gut then? Has your opinion changed since Friday or since Saturday, whenever we did that podcast?
I feel like because our colleague Ash has been.
He's off today.
Yeah,
why is he off today? The potential big day. Everything's supposed to be out. I think he's off tomorrow as well. Unbelievable that he's not here working while the biggest story of the summer's happening.
Yeah, Ash has been fairly confident, and I think I'm with him, man. Like if we're wrong, we're wrong. But I feel in my gut that the offer from Villa it's not going to be like Villa can't pay him. They can adjust the pay structure again to fit him in and keep doing that as long as they progress. So. He can get what he's earned, but he might be interested in seeing what Man City are all about. I want to see their offer for once. I want to actually see what they are offering rather than it being shut down before I get a chance to even see what the legit offer would be. I think that's the business head on. That's probably the sensible thing to do, because you can. You could just then Villa have call your bluff constantly and go, oh yeah, Man City called. They were only going to give you 80 grand, mate. You get stuff like that. So you might want to see the offer. His agents might want to see the offer, but again, all terribly up in the air. And yeah.
Speaking of up in air, and I'm going to ask you to absolutely massively go in with your crystal ball here and speculate to death. I know that you don't know any of these facts for certain. I don't even know what we're talking about. Really, I just want to quiz you. I just want to put you on the spot. Basically, I'm not asking you to give me an exclusive because I know that you don't know. How do you imagine this deal has happened? Is it a release clause? Is there some gentleman's agreement? All this kind of stuff. Is he going to go up there and look at a deal? Will he just completely write it off and stay with Villa? How do you think this whole thing plays out if you had to kind of guess at it? I don't know why we're doing this. It's almost just funny at this point.
I said to my friends, who sometimes go down to Villa with, I was like, I thought it's the first thing that come to my head, and I just was like, "What's wrong with you?" And like straight away, what I thought, and this is obviously, please just take no notice of me and don't harass me for this. But I was like, what if Villa accepted the bid to go, right? You can go if you want, but this is what we're all about, and to give him because it feels like in the past, I know the decision is always his, but it's like Villa went, no, you can't leave to Tottenham now. No, not Man City. No, not Man United last season. And now it's like, no, not Man City. I think they're leaving the door open, but holding their offer going in. Our offer's still very good. So I don't know. I got laughed out for saying that. I don't think it anymore. But when I was in the gym on a Saturday morning, I was like, crack the situation. And then I got laughed out of the room.
Yeah, I think after all this, I reckon there was a release clause of 100 because people have said, "Oh, if there isn't, why don't Villa just come out and say, look, we don't want to accept the bid rejected." I don't know whether Villa even would do that. To be honest, I think he had to come back and chat with the manager and chat with the owners and whatever else is happening yesterday, today, tomorrow, whenever that was supposed to be. I think that has to happen first before Villa even say anything. I don't think Villa are running the way where they come out on Friday afternoon and go, "No way, we're bid rejected," and it's some massive media story. It just doesn't seem like Villa at the moment. So I reckon last year he signs a deal. There's a clause in there of either 100 million or offers over a certain amount. You can then go and speak to the clubs. Maybe Jack's interested. Maybe he's tempted by Man City. He's tempted by Pep. He wants to see what they offer. They offer him 250 grand a week. Comes back to Villa on Monday. Villa say, "We will give you 250 grand to stay here." And then it's up to him to make that split decision, go to Man City and win trophies next year, or stay at Villa and try and do something here. we all hope he stays with Villa, obviously. And my hunch is now that I'm starting to read into stuff like seeing him in the training kit that he wouldn't be doing any of this if he knew he was imminently about to leave. If it was as advanced as we keep hearing, yes, they've made a bid, but it's no further than that yet. That, you know, Jack was back in the country on Saturday, I think. If he was desperate to leave Aston Villa, go up to Manchester on Sunday then and get it sorted straight away. He doesn't even have to come back to Villa. Harry Kane's proven you don't have to come back. What are they going to do? Fine him? He's about to leave anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, he didn't have to come back. So,
and him not coming back to training, it could be like a Euros thing. You could go, it might be because of a Euros thing. It doesn't change. You know, it's only because he's come back. We were all very, very positive. There's a multitude of reasons why you wouldn't report today. But yeah, I think it's all every feeling you have is valid, except my initial feeling, which Jason O'Brien summed up, which is a dangerous game to play. If you added a few swear words to that, times it by about 4, and told me at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning after I'd said it at 8:59, then that was what I was going for.
If I had to put down my gut instincts, and it's flipped and flopped all over the last few days. On Friday, I said, I think he's going. Like, I just see him being pulled by Man City, and we accept the 100, and reluctantly he goes. And he comes back, I see him in the Villa kit, I just think, there's just a slim chance he stays. So I'm just going to say he stays now, because why not? There's a few people that are saying on this live and said in our YouTube comments last time, how come we never mentioned Benteke? And like how the grass wasn't always green for him. And to be honest, I forgot about him.
No, because
we also thought it wasn't good for Barry, it wasn't good for Milner, but Benteke left for big money for Liverpool, and his career went down the pan pretty much.
Yeah, I think it paid off for young Milner, Barry, maybe not Downing, but Benteke didn't move to a footballing machine, and Jack Grealish is going to the most dominant football club on the planet on their day. Like, it's not comparable. Liverpool, even though they won the title, can't really financially. No club can financially compete with the firepower and footballing ability and the structure of Manchester City. You know, they go there and they win big instantly. You know, it's not Brendan Rodgers' Liverpool.
Yeah,
you know?
True. All right. Well, we'll call it a day there on the Jack Grealish stuff. There's now 730 people watching live on a Monday afternoon across Facebook and the Claret Blue podcast on YouTube. Hopefully, we've been able to, whether it's therapy or whether it's just a chance to get your thoughts down on the comment section and kind of a bit of back and forth between us. It is nice just to talk about it with you, James, a little bit. And I've not been looking at Twitter too much in the last 50 minutes. He might have left. No, it's still there. So yeah, it's good to have a bit of a chat. If I for the comments, you had a little straw poll to start, stay or go, we'll do it again. Another hour's passed at this point. As your mind changed, do you think he'll stay or go? What's your gut? Now you've heard us go through all the different things that we've definitely read too much in over the last half an hour or so. And while the comments do that, we'll do a bit of admin. Someone's asked us about Fantasy Premier League. We did it last year. We had a prize go out, I think, at some point. So
official admin is there was a winner, and it's on Matt Kendrick. Yeah, we literally see it's his fault.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if we are doing one. It'll be up to you to set it up. So I'm going to put this into your hands live on air now. Is there going to be one or not?
I will say that part of my job is setting up a bigger fantasy football league where you can win money and shirts and stuff. So I'll probably do Claret and Blue as well, but all the prizes will be in. You'll just get rid out on the you'll just get a mention on the podcast because all the prizes are going to the big fantasy
we can do a mug or something again.
If we've got a mug left, we'll send you one.
Yeah, if Matt ever sends one out, we'll do a mug for the winner. So there will be a Claret and Blue Fantasy Premier League. I won't be taking part this year because, again, I said it last year. I do it for about 3 or 4 weeks and then I stop it. So this year I'm just not even going to take part because I always give up. All the comments now seem to be saying stay, so we're either all massively deluded or we're all pleasantly and quietly optimistic about the whole situation just because we've seen him training, which ultimately probably means nothing. So it's one of those, you've had an hour away from the situation, go back to refreshing Twitter again after this. We'll be back again as and when this situation develops. Hopefully it's tomorrow because, as we've said many times, whether it's good news or bad, I just want it out of the way now and we can move on or stick with Villa or stick with Grealish at Villa for next season. So we'll probably do another podcast tomorrow. John says, Dan, what are you going to do with your Grealish shirt in the background if he leaves? I'm going to burn it, John. No, I'm joking. I'll just take it down. Just put something else up there. I suppose we talked about this the other day, didn't we? About whether he can be a legend and how you think of him after he leaves. I'm not going to be angry at him enough to throw a shirt in the bin because I paid money for it. It's a decent shirt. He'll still be a part of Villa's history, won't he? And he's got us to where we are now, and hopefully even getting us into the Premier League. If he leaves, we can still push on from here without him. So, yeah, the shirt will just come off the wall. I'll just put something else up there.
Put your Fabian Delph one up.
Yeah. I'll put my shirt down in one up in honour of his retirement. So, this probably was a little bit of a therapy session. Another bit of Claret Blue podcast admin. We've got TikTok now. If you're interested in TikTok, we've got an account. I've posted a video of the new shirt on there and a little Leon Bailey clip. Don't really know what we're doing on TikTok really, but James, you told me it's a good idea, so here we are. So our TikTok name is @Claret_Blue. There will link to it underneath this YouTube video. So if you go over and follow that would be greatly appreciated. And besides that, I'm working on a little Holt End project. We've saved some content from our interviews that we've done. So we've got, I think, Steve Froggett's in there, Ian Taylor, Brian Little, Ray Houghton might be in there, where we've asked them specifically about what is Villa Park like to play at, what's it like to score in front of the Holt End, and we're putting together like a little 10-minute, 15-minute feature. So that'll hopefully be out, well, it'll definitely be out before the start of the season. Again, a little peek behind the curtain. There's a little voiceover that I've recorded for that, and one of the lines in it is about our captain scored a goal in front of it or whatever it is. Obviously about Grealish. It's like, might have to take that out. So that project's kind of on hold until I know what's happening with Grealish. But this podcast, we hope you've enjoyed it. It's been good for us to do, good for me to do anyway. I don't know whether you've enjoyed it, James.
It's been great, yeah. It's been fantastic to, I start at the start when I speak about Grealish, I start shaking. No, I'm not. I'm fine.
I'm pretty easy about the whole situation. If he goes, I trust the board and trust the club to do right and recruit well, and we'll still be fine. If he stays, we're on course for something special, and we can make more history. So fingers crossed he stays. But if he goes, then whatever. It's still Aston Villa FC, not Jack Grealish FC. So thanks very much for listening / watching to this podcast. We'll be back again probably tomorrow for more for the latest on the Jack Grealish situation as it develops. Ross says I'm a liar because I'm not okay. I'm hiding it well, all right. Deep down, I'm crying, but I'm hiding it well for the podcast. Right, thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll be back in a few days. James, thanks for your time. Thanks for all your comments. It's been a good little chat. Up the Villa, everybody. And we'll see you again probably tomorrow.
Up the Villa.
Thank you for listening to Claret Blue and Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode. But until then, up the Villa.